What is going down, everybody? Jason and I are back for yet again another State of the Franchise episode. Jason, how are we feeling today on this beautiful Thursday?
Amazing. Things are moving. There was some sort of signing with the Rams apparently that have got people a little bit upset, but other than that, vibing, living a dream.
I was expecting to come on here and talk about a lot of other things, but as you've indicated, as we were getting ready for a stream, I believe you were on another stream, I think with Grant, and the news broke that the Los Angeles Rams have signed Bobby Wagner to a 5-year, $50 million deal with the incentive to reach $65 million. What was your initial reaction when you saw that come across?
I mean, it would have been nice, but I guess my initial reaction was just wait for people to get upset at the 49ers for not signing him. But I feel like your anger shouldn't be towards the Bobby Wagner signing. And I don't know if that was a move that was more than a luxury move at this point. I mean, listen, I've made no bones about it. I think Azeez Al-Shaair is better than Dre Greenlaw. I think that he should be playing over him. And Bobby Wagner would have been nice, and he would have been over both of those guys. But it's a luxury pick at this point. And also, when you look at that number, 5 years, $50 million, when you automatically see that number in your mind, you say, what the hell is that? He's on the downside of his career. Yeah, but you don't know the contract details. Right. What's the guaranteed money? How many years are they on the hook for? Are they voidable years? That's all that cap minutia that we're learning about. So for me, I think the Rams are doing what the Rams have done the entire time since Sean McVay is there, is they load up on known commodities. They load up on vets who can help them right away and who can argue at this point. Who can argue with their success at this point? I mean, you have 1 year where they didn't make the playoffs. They're coming off of a Super Bowl championship. So clearly the things that they're doing are working. And I just don't think the 49er fans should be that upset. I think the anger is less about the Bobby Wagner signing and more about the fact that they feel the 49ers should be doing more. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it does feel like that. It's more of just kind of trying to compare to the Jones. Like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing on that side? Like, why can't we do that? And it feels like that's where the anger is kind of stemming from, as you've mentioned. In the grand scheme of things, like with Bobby Wagner going to the LA from just a pure football standpoint, did the Rams get better? Did they improve clearly by adding a future Hall of Famer to the middle of their defense? Well, what is your overall thoughts and impact just from the football side of things?
Yeah, I mean, they lost Von Miller, but then you add Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner, and it just Cash, what's up, bro? Appreciate
Cash,
you, man. And you look at this team, and for me, it's hard to say that they haven't improved. And I'll explain. Yeah, you lost Whitworth, right? He's retiring. That's something that's not easily attainable and something that's easily replaceable. But Allen Robinson is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. I feel like he's better than Robert Woods, even if Robert Woods may have schematically been better for them because he's such a good run blocker. And I think that's the part that people forget about Robert Woods, even though he is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. But Allen Robinson, I feel, is better at the receiving position. You think about a full season now of Cam Akers coming off of the Achilles. You know, they still have Darrell Henderson, so they're loaded. They're a running back. They obviously have their quarterback, who they have brought back. And now Bobby Wagner in the middle of the field. It speaks to the differences in the way the Rams and the 49ers have conducted their business and constructed their rosters. On the one hand, you have the 49ers, who are largely built with their core from the inside, meaning guys that they've drafted. The only guy that's not that is Trent Williams and Kyle Juszczyk. Everyone else that is on that team is pretty much from the inside, and that's their core. On the other side, you have the Rams, who largely built through free agency, and let's not get it twisted. They have done a great job in the mid-rounds with their picks. Yeah, they don't have first and second round picks. They don't. But they do a great job in the third and fourth round. And 49er fans should know the value of those picks, being that so many of your guys that are cornerstone players have been found in those later rounds. So you have to give the Rams credit. I know that 49er fans don't want to hear it, but their philosophy has seemed to work. They've only missed the playoffs one time. They're walking away with a Super Bowl. And yes, the 49ers have their way of doing things. They're still a top 5 roster. Bobby Wagner probably wouldn't have changed that in any way, and losing him doesn't change that. And then they still have a chance to bring back Odell Beckham, who, because of how late the injury happened, his market hasn't developed as much in terms of money, because you're not going to get immediate impact from him, and who knows when he'll be back. So for me, I really see that the Rams did improve this year, and they're doing business the way that they usually do it. Nobody should have been shocked by the signing.
And we understand the Rams have been extremely aggressive in regards to building out the roster. Again, you alluded to all the pieces that they added last year. Now, we saw the list. They lost a couple guys, but they added Allen Robinson, and now they give the deal to Bobby Wagner. And if you look at the overall defensive side, at least, and you see Von Miller leaving in free agency, yes, that hurts them. But when you add Bobby Wagner into arguably the weakest part of their defense, which was the linebacking core, and you swap that out and you put in a certified Hall of Famer, he will be a Hall of Famer eventually. It's a good move for the Rams. And yeah, we don't know how the money works out. It's a situation that continues to evolve with the cap. Is it real? Is it not? Clearly, there are loopholes. Clearly, there are ways to work around it. You can extend. You can do all different kinds of things to move cash around. So I don't think that's the worst thing ever. But did you even see Bobby Wagner being potentially landing with the 49ers at all?
No. I mean, that was a luxury move. And I would have loved it. For the people that were just like, oh, we don't need it. I wouldn't say you don't. I mean, you don't necessarily need it, but it's not a bad thing to have Fred Warner with Bobby Wagner next to it. I really think the Rams, what they were doing was the 49ers largely attacked them at that position. And like you said, it's their weakest position. So how much of this has to do with we're tired of the 49ers taking advantage of these guys, and who better and who knows the 49ers more than Bobby Wagner? It felt like the right fit. I think everybody kind of expected this to happen. And again, when people get all caught up in the numbers and they start to say, well, the salary cap's not real for them, or why aren't the 49ers doing anything? We don't know the contract details just yet. And again, the 49ers built their roster one way. The Rams, as Brian Peacock calls it so eloquently, I love it, the stars and scrubs type of thing, where you're very top heavy, and then you just fill out your roster with just baseline guys, because those top heavy guys can pick up the slack for you. In terms of how it works, pick a cliche. There's different ways to make a dinner. There's different ways to skin a cat. And that's just the way that the Rams do business. And nobody should be shocked by that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that he went to the Rams. I don't know if you are, but as I heard kind of behind the scenes, it was between LA. He was trying to get back home, go to LA where he grew up, and that's exactly where he landed. We heard early that the 49ers really weren't going to be in it unless they threw the bag at Bobby, and we knew that wasn't going to happen. So as a result, I'm not particularly surprised, and I'm not particularly upset about anything with him going to that team. Now, obviously, I think kind of circling back to the original point, I think fans are just upset that we're just kind of signing those kind of fringe 1-year depth pieces. And obviously, we know what's going on with Jimmy, and we know all these things that are going on. Deebo Samuel needs to get paid, all these kinds of things. It just feels like people are upset just because they want to get excited about something, right?
And that's fine. I think that's more about the boredom of offseason at this point, because I mean, everything is kind of slowed down. It's so crazy how things were moving the first few days, and things have kind of have reached the crawl space at this point. There's so many valuable players that are out there that are not necessarily flashy names, but when you look at teams with scheme fits and with needs, they will be impact players. I can think of a top of my head, Julio Jones is out there, AJ Boye is out there, Tart's out there. There's so many other players that are out there that will be signed later on. And I think this is part of the 49ers plan in terms of we weren't going to be in on any of these high-end guys one way or another. We're going to stick to the plan. And I think that's the part that has people a little bit frustrated. It's like, hey, we want a flashy name too, right? Like, we want to have one of those guys that we get excited about. It's just not the way the 49ers have done business, aside from a few other things in terms of like Quan Alexander, Malcolm Smith, Jarrett McKinnon, when they made those moves early on. But at the same time, these last few years, this is kind of the 49ers pattern. And I think either people are just weary about it, or they are hoping that they could sign somebody who can push them over the top because of how close the 49ers got last year.
Absolutely. And I mean, the 49ers did make a move today, but it got quickly
Swept under the rug.
Swept under the rug. I mean, it is, I think, a relatively small move, but it does guarantee that one of the 49ers' best offensive players, Kyle Juszczyk, will be on the roster until 2025. Just, what do you think about that move with them picking that up and picking up his option to ensure he'll be here until 2025?
I love it. I mean, he's the best tight end in the game, and tight end, fullback. Sorry. I guess that's my brain wanting to say something else and then think of something else. The only thing that I would say is I know what he brings in terms of the run, motion stuff is implemented and it worked with him, and he can double as a tight end. But also, a little quarterback. Did you know he went to Harvard? No. Okay. Is that news? Okay.
What?
Well, that Kyle Juszczyk went to Harvard.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We've heard
so that. The only complaint that I would have is you're paying him an exorbitant amount of money basically to have him as a fifth running back, basically, right? Because that's what a fullback is. Let's have him route some dudes up. I think that he can. I think that he should get the ball in that way.
He was doing that all training camp, remember?
That's what I'm saying. Again, I was just on with Grant. I literally said these words. I said, Grant, I thought you were exaggerating, dude. When you're like, oh, well, Juszczyk needs to get the ball. I'm just like, man, this is you, just drumming it up. But then we went to our first training camp to cover, and guess what? We're covering training camp. No one's covering Kyle Juszczyk. No one's covering Kyle Juszczyk. Nobody could. So use that to your advantage. Kyle Shanahan loves to get mismatches going. Use Juszczyk a little bit more. Give him the ball 2 times, 3 times, maybe a game. Nobody's asking for something exorbitant, anything like that, but have him run one of those choice routes out of the backfield, or as Rich Madrid loves to call it, Texas routes. I hope he doesn't see this because he's just going to send me a nasty text message. But yeah.
Justin says, "How didn't we get a you want some juice tweet before they announced that? That would have been a great marketing tactic and opportunity, but it was missed." Let's see really quickly. I want to get to this super chat before we get too deep into it. Corey Hyde says, "Jason, you and Grant were talking about James Cook. Could we move up and grab him and then trade Elijah Mitchell to recoup some draft capital?" What are your thoughts about that?
I think that they don't really have to move up for James Cook. Grant and I were kind of going through where the 49ers pick, and the third pick was, which it's 105, was where he suggested James Cook, and that's not a bad spot. I wouldn't want to do that right there, but James Cook is such a big fit here. The problem that I have, Corey, and I know you were just watching this, you just used 2 picks last year on a running back, right? And you can't ship off Trey Sermon anywhere because nobody knows what the hell he is. And that's part of his own doing, not part of his own doing. He was injured, right? But with Elijah Mitchell, I think that going forward, you would have been able to move maybe Elijah Mitchell if you would have brought back Mostert. At this point, I don't know if you can just roll with James Cook and Trey Sermon and maybe a scrap heap running back that you pick up off of, who's somebody that's out there, like a Justin Jackson, right? Like, I don't think you can move forward with that room. Not after what Elijah Mitchell just did this year. And I love the part about drafting James Cook. My thing is if James Cook comes in here, he has a really good chance to supplant Elijah as the guy, like the guy, because he does look like
James
Dalvin.
Cooks is really good.
Yeah, he looks like Dalvin, man. He really does. But I think the 1-2 punch of Cook and Mitchell, especially when you consider where Elijah Mitchell was drafted, obviously 6th round, it's a steal. You're playing with house money. I wouldn't look to move Elijah Mitchell in that scenario. I think Cook and Mitchell together would be formidable, and then you have Trey Sermon there, and you have to figure that out. Or maybe you just have to chalk it up to a loss. But I mean, it's not like you could have had Javonte Williams at that pick anyway, So
it's not like you could have had a laundry list of impact players at that pick, but we digress, right? And to kind of piggyback on some of the things that you were saying, I would agree. I think there's a world that exists where if you are targeting James Cook, you don't need to trade Elijah Mitchell, and that would be kind of a misstep in my opinion because he was a 6th round draft pick. You're getting immense value with him and production out of him. He's proven that he can get better throughout the season, and I'm sure he's going to come in even better next year. So, and he clearly had to be our workhorse at one point just due to injury. So I wouldn't look to move him because what are you going to get in return? And you then create more issues at the running back room with depth because then you're going to be relying on yet another rookie in James Cook. You're going to have Jeff Wilson back. Trey Sermon is a bit of a question mark. And JaMychal Hasty, I don't know if you'd feel really any more comfortable with that running back room than you kind of feel right now. I think you at least know right now what Elijah is. And James Cook, we both are high on James Cook. I took him in my first mock. We got to see him up close and personal at the NFL Combine. He has a vibe about him. And you can tell when guys like kind of have a vibe where other guys gravitate to them, and that you can tell like just through vibe alone who's going to kind of stand out above the rest. James Cook was one of those guys amongst all the running back guys at the Combine when we're standing 2 feet away from him. So
and
I like the idea of getting James Cook.
And we know the 49ers has contacted him.
Yeah, I like as you asked, I like the idea of getting James Cook. I love it, but I don't think you would have to get rid of Elijah. So if they trade up, we'll see. I think they chill on trading up for running backs at this point. But if James Cook is there, I wouldn't mind him being on the Niners.
And the thing is, too, it sounds to me like Brad is less need. He knows his known commodity. You don't trade it for what you possibly could get because the draft is a crapshoot. There was a fun little exercise that was done in a group chat that I was in. Okay. They pulled up the 2017 NFL draft first round, 32 picks, right? And the question was asked, how many of these guys would you consider a success out of 32? When I went through them, and 2 of these guys were Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, so they're included. When I went through them, it was 12 out of 32. That means 20 teams missed in the first round. Missed, right? Yep. Including the 49ers. So, no commodity? It's like that Family Guy sketch. Wait, hang on, Lois. A boat's a boat, but the box can be anything. It could even be a boat. You know how much we wanted one of those. Then why don't we just take the boat? We'll take the box.
Intrigue, the mystery gets people going.
Who can resist the call of the mystery box? And that's the draft pick, is your mystery box. That's it. It's perfect. You can get the it's a Simpsons reference too. You can have the washer and dryer, or you can trade it all for what's in the box. And the guy's like, perfect. the box. That's the point. What you don't know, what you know. And that's what the Rams have done. They have cut out their risk mitigation with their first 2 rounds, and they've done a great job in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, getting guys who complement them, but take the risk out of it. So everybody loves draft picks until they miss, until they turn into Dante Pettis, until they turn into Solomon Thomas. That's the thing.
So where do you kind of see the 49ers right now? We've clearly talked a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo. We might get to him in a little bit, but it does feel like we saw the rankings come out from Field Yates today. The 49ers ranked 30th in overall cap space. They're over by $1 million plus. So they're in the red. I think that's kind of stopping them from doing things. I think we would assume at this point, making moves.
I don't know if it's that or if the 49ers are doing their due diligence. Sorry, I couldn't resist. No, honestly, the guys that are out there right now, many of them have injury concerns. That's why they're waiting for their market to develop. Right. So how many guys are you actually looking into? Are you going to develop, or what's going to happen? What's his market going to look like? And I think when they get a good sense of a player that they want to bring in and how much money that'll cost, then they'll make a move like extend Jimmy Ward, restructure Eric Armstead, those sort of things. I think they have those moves set up, ready to go when they feel like they've identified somebody who can come in and help. The problem is those guys that you're looking at are the same guys that you've been swinging on. Everybody loves to yell at Trent Baalke for who he drafted and everything, and it's true. You know, he rested on his laurels and said, this team is stacked. I can take a Marcus Lattimore who's not going to play this year. Maybe he'll play next year. I'll take this guy. I'll take that guy. But the 49ers love bringing in guys off of injury. Love it. Absolutely love it, man. And they love getting them on a discount. Sometimes you get a Jason Verrett. Sometimes you get a Jerick McKinnon. And that's no disrespect to QB1. I'm just, plain facts, right? Like, that's the thing. I think more than likely what they're doing right now is they're lining up their potential free agents, figuring out what their situation is, what they'll cost, but they've got moves ready to be made if they can bring in guys. The problem is those guys are very boom or bust. Sure, the risk could be really, really bad. The reward could be really, really good. But this is the part that you're at on March 31st when all of the guys who are locked and loaded, ready to go, not coming off injuries or only had one injury and they're much younger, those guys are signed. And now this is what you're bargain bin diving again, right? Like this is what you're doing. And this is what the 49ers have shown you that they've done. So
absolutely. And I think it's kind of been swept under the rug. Jawan Jennings hasn't signed his tender yet. And that's likely
he's not even on the team?
He's been tendered. He hasn't signed it or at least from my understanding, they are working towards a long-term deal. But if the money isn't right and because someone is taking up a good portion of it, they can't really get the thing done and they kind of have to wait. So it kind of feels like they are in a bit of a waiting period. I agree with you that there are going to be other free agents that come on down the line that they can add to the team. But it's an interesting situation because we want to see some moves. It's the offseason. We want to see people added. We want to see our team get better on paper and all those kinds of things. And so it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. But it really does kind of feel like we're just kind of heading towards the draft, especially if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the roster. And we're going to see what happens in the draft. Maybe Jimmy gets dealt in the draft. Maybe the Panthers, divine intervention, get me BB on this roster somehow. I don't know. Something happens.
Hey,
but
since you're into this manifesting thing, can I have you can I have you manifesting Zoe Kravitz leaving Channing Tatum and calling me up for a date or something like that? Because you right now are on fire, my friend. They're putting articles out based on your scenarios, man. Like you are shaking and moving NFL Twitter at this point. The only other thing I'm going to say is this. Either the 49ers are looking at tier 3, tier 4 guys off of injuries, things like that, that'll fill out this roster, or they've completely just turned the page to the draft. And in that case, if that's the case, you have to obviously clear money to make sure you sign those guys because you can't just draft guys without signing them.
Right.
But you can't miss. You can't miss in certain spots. You can't miss. You need a strong safety.
They're not picking until 61. That's pretty deep.
Yes. You need a strong safety. You need another edge guy. You need offensive line. You can't miss. You can't have guys that are going to be here and sit around for 1 year, even though that's what they've been doing. You can't miss now if you don't bring in anybody else in free agency. So I'm interested to see what the plan is. Both plans have their upside. Both plans have their downside. But if they're fully just going to go into the draft and add to this team in that way, you can't miss. Can't miss.
You can't.
I don't want to hear about Trey Sermon. I don't want to hear about you can't miss. You cannot miss.
We're not going to talk about Solomon Thomas. We're not going to talk about, Joe Williams. We're not going to talk about
Dante
those
Pettis
guys because it's in the past. But again, looking down at the Rams, they're in our division. It is an arms race, whether we want to admit it or not. Kyle has talked about it. He's talked about that in referencing the Julio Jones potential trade. Well, if Sean's going to go get him, I have to make sure that I can stop Sean from getting him and get him on my team at the very least if he's going to be in division. So clearly there's a lot of moving parts, but I'm feeling like the Rams right now. I want that proven commodity. Go get me Brian Burns. The dang Panthers need a quarterback. Let's make something happen because at this point, Rams GM Scott Fritter already came out and said they potentially are looking at an edge if they can't extend Brian Burns. They picked up his 5th-year option. So I'm trying all my best to manifest this thing to happen. But if you really look at it, we understand what are the ultimate positions of need for the San Francisco 49ers right now.
Strong safety,
give me top
edge,
3.
And strong safety, edge, and offensive line at this point. Especially because we think that Alex Mack's going to be back, but we could wake up next week and Alex Mack's like, nah, man, I just got married. I'm going home, man. I'm going to stay with my wife.
Yeah.
And then you have
still
to
not definitive. As much as we feel good, it's still not definitive that he's returning.
Things are pointing in that direction.
Yes,
right?
They're pointing that way.
But nothing in life is certain, and nothing in 49ers land is ever certain or easy. That's the other thing I want to point out.
Or guaranteed.
Or guaranteed, 100%. So strong safety, you need a guy who can start right away because Hufanga can't. Offensive line, it's Trent Williams and Aaron Banks at this point. Those are the only two that I'm really counting on at this point, right? Like it's after Kyle said all those things about Aaron Banks, about how he was ready to play, and not unfortunately, he said it was a good problem. Brunskill played well.
Yeah.
So it's Banks, it's Williams, and then there's 3 unknowns. Is McGlinchey going to be back? Will Brunskill be back? Will Brunskill be productive? What about Jalen Moore? Who's the center? And that's the problem. So it's those 3 positions right there that if they address that, then you feel good at where this roster is in terms of competing. Am I out? Or in terms of competing again, but it depends on the route they go. Are you going to address this in free agency? Are you going to address it in the draft? And if you address it in the draft, you can't have a stumble, right? I know Tarvarius Moore's still on this roster. Sorry, guys. I am not convinced that Tarvarius Moore can just step in and do what Tark did. Sorry. He has all the tools. Cool. Here's the thing that I'm going to say, and I said this on Grant. I feel like I'm repeating myself. 2020, this is the yin and yang of Tarvarius Moore. 2020, New England game, Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt don't play. And they move Moore all around the box. They have him play, and he plays fast. And he looks good, man, right? Mm-hmm. The yang in Glendale against Buffalo, routinely out of position, routinely letting guys beat him, missing his assignments. That's the part that scares me. So
Moore's issue isn't his athleticism.
No, it's here. There's many guys who aren't as athletic. Like Tart's not as athletic as Moore. Moore's faster, but Tart knows his assignment. Right. Yep. It's more to physicality, athleticism than the football and to make a good football player. There are plenty very talented players, people in this world that do not materialize into NFL players. There are plenty of players who are not as talented as those players that turn into very good football players. There is something different about playing the NFL, and it doesn't just come down to skills. So, Tarvarius Moore and someone else, cool. I'd love Jalen Petrie. I'd love Leon O'Neal. You figure it out in that way. But again, if you go the route of the draft, you can't miss. You can't miss, and you can't say we're waiting for a year for this guy to develop, because if you run Talanoa Hufanga out there as strong safety, we have a problem, a very big problem.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe Odom for them is that kind of buffering guy who's been in the league. He's has some experience. He's still young, could be ascending. So maybe they feel more comfortable attacking safety with the draft because they kind of have two backup plans, 3 backup plans at that position, whether it's Talanoa, whether it's Moore, whether it's Odom or a rookie. But I think we all agree they have to get a rookie. They have to get younger at that position because Jimmy Ward, unfortunately, how good and how much respect we give him for his play on the field, he unfortunately isn't getting any younger. So we understand how this league works. There's a certain period of time where things, and if we extend Jimmy, beautiful. I love it, but I still think we should attack safety. We haven't even talked about slot corner. We don't have a slot starting nickel cornerback right now, unless that person's already on the roster. Do you think they are? Is that Diamador? Do they shift Ambry inside? What do you think's going on there?
I would love for Jalen Petrie to be the guy because he is that guy. He's that guy, pal. You can have another safety on the field, use him as slot, things like that. He can move around. He's as versatile. I love Jalen Petrie, man. I just don't think he's going to be around at 61. And at 61, this is what me and Grant were talking about. What would you rather have? Let's say both of these fine young gentlemen who I think are going to be ballers in this league are on the board. And I'll pose this to you, Brad McShay. Or you're Brad Kuiper. I'm sorry. You're Brad Kuiper. It's Jordan McShay.
It's Jordan McShay.
Arnold Ebukadi's is on the board, and so is Jalen Petrie at 61. Highly unlikely, but let me throw that scenario at you. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Because I think Ebukadi can come in and be the D Ford in 2019 to this defense. But I think that Jalen Petrie... I was just going to
say, for me, it would be Ebukadi. It would be a situation where I see the value in edge. Like, clearly, I'm on the Brian Burns hype because I want that impact opposite of Bosa. We look at Nick Bosa last year, the most double-teamed defensive lineman in the NFL. A lot of that had to do with them not being afraid of who was on the other side of them. They were okay with putting Arden Key and manning him up in the 3-tech and not sliding protection to that way. I think that's why we saw Arden Key, Charles Omenihu be able to be effective out of the 3-tech, because they were just sliding everything at Bosa. He still came away with 15.5 sacks. Should have been 16.5 sacks if Amber didn't get that, illegal hands to the face in the Bengals game. So I'm dead set. I was dead set last year. I thought edge was a huge need last year, and they completely omitted it. They didn't even address it, other than, adding Arden Key. They got Samson Ebukam, who came on later on in the year, right? But it took him a while. Ebukadi, to me, you plug and play. You're ready to go, and you get that athletic profile where Nick Bosa is a great, he can play both big end and Leo, but he is a 3-down defensive end, and Ebukadi is just, he's terror off the edge. He's going to rush the passer and be very, very good at that. You can stick Eric out there on base downs. You can shift all those guys around. But when it comes to third down, you get Ebukadi out there. And you can grab a guy like Marcus Jones out of Houston to come slide into the slot, maybe in the second or the third or fourth or whatever, wherever they land. So I think edge, trenches, you have to invest there first. Especially early, because for me, defensive backs can be a bit of a crapshoot. I feel like it's one of the hardest, at least for me, is one of the hardest positions to scout, because guys that I've thought are going to hit haven't, and it's just it's hard, and I think where they land plays a big part in that too. So there's a lot to go into it, but to answer your question, I'd have to go edge.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. The only concern that I have with Ebukadi is just he needs to be better against the run. But as you said early on, he's going to be in a D Ford role of third down, go get the quarterback. And D Ford wasn't known for his run stopping. It was more about obvious passing situations in third down, and that's where he'll be great. And I think that when you look at the four across, when you're talking Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead, and Ebukadi, that's give me that. Sign me up for that. I'm with it. I hear you, 100%.
And that's part of the rationale behind Brian Burns. And I would admit Brian Burns is going to be your best base down defensive end in the NFL. He's coming in to get after the passer. He's coming in to get after Matthew Stafford. He's coming in to get after Kyler Murray. You have really good quarterbacks in your division. Now, thankfully, Russell Wilson is out the way, but you have to get these guys uncomfortable. And we understand when you add Allen Robinson to Cooper Kupp, yes, they lost. They could bring back OBJ, but the Rams did lose Robert Woods, who you alluded to, and I agree with you, is a great wide receiver, underrated. That you still have to attack these guys. You still have to get after them. So getting after the passer for me is number one. But we'll see where that goes. Any other things, when you look at the draft, what is if you're picking edge at, let's say, that second round pick, where are you kind of slotting positionally wise for that third round pick?
It would be between strong safety, Leon O'Neal, hopefully he's still around, or let's do O-line. Dr. Strange, man. I'm on Cole Strange, bro. I really am, man.
You've been on him since the Senior Bowl.
Oh, yeah. One, the name. I mean, the names that we can come up with and the nicknames, Dr. Strange and the multiverse of blocking and, whatever. We can make up whatever we want when it comes to that stuff. But really, football stuff, guard, played center. The 49ers love their versatility. The 49ers actually asked him in Mobile to play center, so they're also interested in him. It tells you where they're going with their thought process as well, too. But I threw the O-line thing in there to make you happy. This is my first full year in scouting O-line because we were not looking at that at all last year. We were just so enamored with what quarterback it would be. So I hope you're proud of me, Sourdough Sam. Sourdough Sam's son. I did my due diligence. I did my due diligence on offensive line.
I'm very happy, and you came away with some good ones, man. We got Ken saying 49ers looking at Juergens or Strange. If it came to the center position, these are two of the guys that I will be highest on, as well as I'm sure Jason is high on Juergens, as well as Strange, as he just explained, because those two guys are athletic centers. We talk about it all the time. At least I talk about it all the time. When you're looking for offensive linemen in zone schemes, the prerequisite to be able to be considered is you have to be able to move. First step quickness. You have to be able to get to the second level. You have to be able to flow. You can't be this big, like a lot of people think, the big ugly, the big fatty, just kind of like, I'm going to just push you out the way. You can't do that in this scheme.
Right.
You got to be able to move. That's why I think, when Aaron Banks was selected, it was like, it was interesting because from an archetype standpoint, he could move, but it was interesting. And we'll see how that continues to progress. Obviously, Kyle spoke highly of him. So hopefully he can slot in and be an impact. And you could grab a Strange or a Juergens or a Donovan West or a Luke Fortner or a Donald Parham. Like there's a Parham. Donald Parham is the tight end from the Chargers. I keep doing that. But the one from Memphis.
Well,
go ahead.
One more thing I wanted to say about Cole Strange is that if anybody hasn't watched on the 4th and Goal podcast, Javi Vega had him on there. And what Brad was talking about with the athleticism is true, but the thing that I walked away impressed with was how he was dissecting outside zone. And he's a big nerd when it comes to that and understanding his technique and understanding how to move and everything as well, too. So he's very, very familiar with the scheme as well, too, even though he went to Chattanooga. So I came away impressed with that. Juergens, for sure. Parham, for sure. That's another guy. I just got my hand on some Memphis film, so I'm going to try to take a look at him. I just been too enamored watching Calvin Austin run around that I need to get back to my offense.
Still on the Calvin Austin hype, huh?
I'm letting it go. I'm not letting it go. Won't let it go. Shout out to Mav, one of my YouTube subscribers. He put me on, and that's it. Now Calvin Austin hype. I'm all in.
Yeah, he blew up the Senior Bowl. Again, he would be that kind of almost like hybrid wide back type player who could play multiple different roles, returner, slot, all different kinds of things. You can move him all over the place. But speaking of wide back, is Deebo Samuel getting paid soon?
Yes, please. Pay him everything, man. Come on. What are we doing here? Look.
What are we doing here? Are you concerned about how much he's going to get? Because I think we both feel very confident that he is going to be paid and likely paid soon. Just what is the deal is with the movement across the NFL, with the amount that Tyreek got paid, with the amount that Devontae Adams got paid? Do you think he's going to be right there? Jalen Ramsey just came out and said he's right there as 1A, 1B, 1C. So is it going to be 1A, 1B, 1C from a payment standpoint?
I think so. And I don't even think that you blink at this. Look, the reason why I don't care about how much money, it's not my money.
No, that's why I just a quick tangent. We get fans get so wrapped up in the money part of it. I'm like, dude, it's not our money. And you can see how they shift and create holes. It's like, what are we getting upset about?
Right.
That's my thing.
No, you're good. I agree, man. It's not my money and I don't really care. And honestly, the cap is going to continue to rise as long as business is booming with the NFL, which it will be. Yes, Mav. There you go, bro. Appreciate you, man. But the thing is this. We were at the Combine. How many people, prospects, yeah, that's it. How many prospects, GMs, head coaches, oh my God, I was waiting. I knew he was going to be out of pocket. That's why I'm not looking at the comments, man. Y'all throw me off too much, and especially being there, bro. Always got some fire comments. But here's the thing. Every prospect, every GM, every head coach, Mike McDaniel, everybody, you unprompted. You didn't even have to ask any of these guys. The name that kept popping up, what they're looking for, what they want to be, Deebo Samuel. The entire league is looking to replicate what you have. So, You worried about how much he makes. The market changes all the time. It happened with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks made a certain amount of money until Aaron Rodgers got paid. Now, market resets. Happens with all positions. It's just the nature of the business. But you're telling me I don't want to pay him this amount of money. We can get all of these picks. And then when those picks turn into Dante Pettis, Joe Williams, Trey Sermon, guys who are not going to play, what were those picks for? Remember, a boat's a boat, but the box can be anything. Give me what I know, and please stop messing around. please don't do this. And stop the people, the general managers, the Twitter GMs. That's it. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Stop it. Stop it. Oh, you get rid of him and you draft this guy. Cool. You can draft Treylon Burks with a high number 1 pick, right? And you believe that he's going to be Deebo Samuel. Treylon Burks can get off the bus and tear his Achilles and destroy his knee and never play again. And then guess what? You don't have the money. You don't have the production. You lost the player. Stop it. I'm done with the unknowns. The draft's a crapshoot. All of you guys tell me all the time. Stop it. Pay the man. He is. Did you hear what Jalen Ramsey said in that interview?
I listened to part of it.
Jalen Ramsey is a teammate of the guy who had an extra game to try to beat Megatron's record and still couldn't. Shout out to Megatron. That should make that record even more valuable. And he had Cooper Kupp like 4.
Under OBJ, who's not even on the roster.
Dude, he talked about none of these guys that we're talking about has the offense run through them, and he wins in so many different ways. And you've got fans and people trying to draw clicks to something saying you need to move on from Deebo Samuel because he's going to cost too much, as if it's coming out of your taxes. Yeah. Look, guys, sign the man. Don't look back. Stop playing. I'm done with it.
Right. Known commodity, right?
What do I know?
He's already on your team.
What I know? Debo's here, and he's really good at football. My goodness. Sometimes people complicate this. Some people complicate this stuff, man. There are 31 other teams that are literally Mike McDaniel. I'm going to use Tyreek like Deebo. Jamar Chase takes one handoff in a game. They're using him like Deebo. No, they aren't. No, why is everyone searching for Deebo Samuel and you're trying to get rid of him? Stop it. Come on.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. It's good.
Jamar Chase takes one handoff. He's used like Deebo Samuel. No, not.
I forget who was talking about. They're like, Mecole Hardman, next Deebo Samuel, because they used him on end arounds. Like, oh, no. Dean 49er says, Payne, wish the 49ers were as committed to getting better as much as they're committed to Jimmy G. I hate it here. I guess we made it 42 minutes, Jason, without talking about the quarterback. I'm proud of us.
In life, I think I just want to find someone who believes and cares about me as much as the 49ers care about Jimmy Garoppolo, man. Like, if I could find that person out there, and it's out there, Brad just has to manifest Zoe Kravitz leaving Channing Tatum and responding to my DM. Go for it, Brad. I think you put out the vibes. But I think it's funny, man. It's just, look, I think right now, and I know where you're going with this, Brad, so I'll just take it from here. I think right now,
let's get into
it. The 49ers can only do what they're doing at this point. They're not going to sit here and act like this was part of their plan, because it wasn't. You heard Kyle Shanahan use the words, this is why we were looking to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, because we believe that Trey's ready to start. There's clue number 1.
Yes.
That is Trey.
Yes.
So calm down on that. Mm-hmm. But he also talked about not moving on for no reason and things like that. I don't necessarily agree, but I get it. Okay? It's basically agree to disagree in my eyes. Okay?
Right.
You're saying something that does make sense. You could have stopped all this earlier on when, we were asking you to move on from Jimmy earlier on, when you first got Trey Lance. Obviously, you probably wouldn't have made the NFC Championship, but it's a give and take. You have to move in the right direction and do things that are best for the team's future. But they're doing all they can right now at this point. They're doing the best that they can. Here's a scenario that I laid out on Grant's show that I don't want to give too much light to, anything like that, but accidents happen all the time. 2 years ago, the 49ers lost guys. Deebo Samuel broke his foot running routes with Jimmy Garoppolo. Missed time. Who was it? Who's the other gentleman who lost his season? Richie James broke his hand messing around. God forbid something happens to Trey Lance and he's going to miss an extended period of time. You have the best backup quarterback in football. And now he's a starter. I don't want that to happen. I don't foresee that to happen. I don't foresee that happening, keeping him all the way through training camp. But there are positive outcomes of this. And the funny part is, the positive outcome comes with one of the worst outcomes for Trey Lance. So at this point, I feel like the 49ers are just doing whatever they can. And I think that let me say this, and I know I'm going to get killed. Thank God I'm not looking at the comments. I think they're doing the right thing right now by not cutting him, by keeping him. People get desperate. Things happen. Let's find out what happens in the draft. And if they do cut him, it'll be after he can pass a physical. Then you clear all of that money, because if you cut him now, you have to pay him the $7 million because he's going to get the waived. He's going to get the physical, failed designation waived. So it's just the front office never thought they would be here. Jimmy never thought it would be here. Kyle never thought it would be here at this point. And when they were talking about certain scenarios, they were just outlining things that can happen. Plenty of things can happen. Doesn't mean they will. Doesn't mean they're likely. But I think that's when you hear, oh, we'll keep him, that is a scenario, but it's not likely. And I'm going to stick to my guns, and I don't believe that he'll be here for training camp, because the concerns that I'll have about him being in training camp will have little to do with money and more to do with locker room and Trey Lance's head. And that's it.
Absolutely. And I think, I agree. I think this is the business of football. This isn't about the locker room. This isn't about Trey Lance. It's about recouping assets for Jimmy Garoppolo and not giving him $7.5 million to go play for Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks, so he can just waltz up there and, knowing our luck, come pay it back to us 2 times a year. So I think there's some gamesmanship going on. It does feel like the 2 teams that are posturing nonstop are the frickin' Panthers and the San Francisco 49ers. And those 2 teams fit each other in regards to need more than any. I'm looking around, because, again, I think you can rationalize, Jason, when you look at this quarterback crop coming in, there are good prospects. Malik Willis is a good prospect. Kenny Pickett's a good prospect. Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral, go down the list. They're decent prospects, but we don't know if any of them are day one starting caliber quarterbacks, because I made the point on a previous live, when you look at last year's class, which we call one of the best classes we've seen in decades, Trevor Lawrence fell on his face. Zach Wilson fell on his face. Trey Lance played 2 games. Of course, Mac Jones was the best quarterback. He was the last one picked. And I don't know why I'm blanking on the 5th one.
Justin?
Oh. Our Prince.
How dare you, man?
I think I've locked him in the chamber of my brain where I don't feel those feelings anymore. I don't feel the Justin feel sadness.
I gotta tell you, man, it was really hard to be there for that Bears game and to watch him make those plays, and people are just looking at me and I'm just like, damn it, man. Damn it, man. I'm sorry.
It was the duel between Justin Fields and freaking Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy had 2 rushing touchdowns that game.
Jimmy Wheels was born that day.
Do you think that was the game that saved Jimmy Garoppolo's season?
Yes. That Deebo Samuel play was the play that saved their season and saved Jimmy Garoppolo. I was in Chicago. This isn't hearsay. This isn't made up. Trey Lance was warming up on the sideline. That's not me making it up. There's a lot of things that were said about what Kyle told, and that's fine. And, you can believe that if you want. But with my 2 eyes, I was at the game looking at the sideline, and Trey Lance was warming up. 1 screen pass on 3rd and 21 later, season saved, job saved, and Jimmy moves forward. That's how good Deebo Samuel is. And some of you want to trade him. He literally saved that man's job.
Right.
Saved that man's job and saved your team's season. But yeah, let's trade him for a 1st-round pick so we can draft a punter.
And going back to I was going to say that earlier, but he's like, I'm going to keep Spicy Aponte down right now. I'm going to keep him focused on the quarterback, not bring up any potential 49ers drafting more punters, long snappers, and kickers in the upcoming draft. We'll get to there at another time. But back to the original point, we looked at that last year's class of the quarterback crop, and we held it in the highest regard. Those guys didn't come in and across the board win their team's games. They were going to bad teams and things like that. So when I look at the Panthers, I look at, their head coach, I look at their general manager. This is their last year to get it right. They flamed out on Sam Darnold. They flamed out on Cam Newton trying to bring him back, and I think making that, like, rehashing that situation with Sam on the, like, they're in a position where they can't miss. And there's quarterbacks in this class that probably aren't going to win you a bunch of games if they're playing in year one. Doesn't mean they can't be good. So I'm just waiting. I want the Panthers and the 49ers. I don't, of course I want Brian Burns. That's number one. I'm clearly high on Brian Burns. Make it happen. I'm going to keep saying it. But still, it does feel like a fit where if you're just getting picks or you're just getting a player that doesn't have to be Brian, it feels like they could fit each other based on needs. And so I'm just waiting for the draft. That's my next goalpost. I've moved the goalpost to the draft. I'm hoping something gets done with the draft, because if it doesn't, I don't know if anything's going to get done before OTAs. We're probably going to creep 2 months. Like, if tell me how you feel, because I feel if a trade doesn't get done for Jimmy Garoppolo in the draft, the 49ers are going into camp with Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster. That's how I feel. What do you feel?
Please, Superman. I'm not normally a praying man, Superman, but I don't want to cover. I don't want to cover this. I don't want to cover this camp. Please, for Trey's sake, for my sake, for the sake of not talking about this issue that is exhausting, redundant, and quite frankly boring. Please don't let this happen. And any offerings, if you can give me a sign that this won't happen, it will be done. Cool. All right. Look, there's a world that happens. But here's another thing. In the same way that I outlined that maybe Trey Lance gets injured, what if somebody starting quarterback gets injured in a weight room? And now you have to make a move, right? So I think in a way, right, the 49ers are playing the patient game because, one, them and the Browns are basically handshake emoji. They can't move the quarterback. There's nowhere to move them. So You're being patient. Right. But if an injury pops up and a team has playoff aspirations, like the one team I think you can wipe off, like if Jameis tears his ACL or something like that at OTAs, you can wipe them off. They're not going to go for Jimmy because they just signed Andy Dalton. But there's another team out there probably that, let's just say the Washington Commanders, right? And Carson Wentz, gets hurt or looks awful in the preseason or something like that. I mean, I know they sent a lot, it's just things happen. Guys get injured. Guys don't play well. And remember, this is a results business. When you talked about Carolina, they could draft Malik, but if they don't win games, Matt Rule's not going to be there to develop Malik.
And they're not going to be there to re-sign Brian Burns.
So, look, there's a lot of play right here, right now. And I think that the only thing that's keeping me optimistic is that there's Superman just texted me and he said, "Nah, fam. So that's why Batman's better." But there's the only thing that's keeping me calm is there's so much time in between that, and so many things can happen. There's been a pretty crazy offseason. Look at what the Browns are even telling you. Deshaun Watson might miss a bunch of games. Yes, we signed Jacoby Brissett, but Baker Mayfield is better than Jacoby Brissett. Sorry, guys. I don't know if that was breaking news. And he can step in if he's still on the roster and Deshaun Watson has to miss substantial time. Now, how do you make that work when the relationship is so fractured? I don't know. I'm sure Baker Mayfield would rather play football than not play football at all, since there's no spots for him at this point. So again, this is in the range of outcomes. I don't think that it's likely, but just forget it, Superman. You're done, man. Get it done, Batman. Come on, man. Like, God.
Come on, Batman.
Come on, man. Get his ass out of here. Sorry.
We need the Dark Knight to rise and take over Gotham and serve justice amongst 49er faithful. It's funny. We're talking about Carolina posturing. We're talking about the 49ers posturing. You've mentioned how the Browns are posturing. Again, with the quarterback situation. This just from the Draft Network. In quotes, Carolina's preference is to select a quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft at number 6 overall is beginning to look like the draft's worst kept secret. But again, they can take Malik Willis. They can take Kenny Pickett are they going to win football games where Fritter and Rule are gone regardless? So it just feels like a lot of posturing, but that's why I'm moving the goalpost to the draft, and I'm going to be patient until the draft because it's smoke season. Smoke season. These are the reports that come out. No one is going to openly broadcast, hey, we're going to go get a quarterback at number 6. That guarantees nothing. That means a team could jump you. It's all smoke at this point, which again tells me, like, if they're putting out that much smoke that they're going to go get a rookie quarterback who isn't probably going to win them any games. It's like, okay, get a damn deal done with Jimmy or something, please. I need help. Save me. Someone.
Yeah.
Batman. Help me.
Batman's better than Superman anyway. Superman is too much of a good boy. Sometimes you need a guy who's going to, do the wrong thing to get it done, and that's Batman. Come on.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a continuing moving target. It's going to be something that, again, as you said, is just frustrating to talk about. But
it's just frustrating because there's no new points, and people are dug in and they just want to be right. Like there's a large portion of the fan base that doesn't care whether the 49ers win games or if they're not able to move to get talent just so they could see other 49ers fans get upset that Jimmy Garoppolo is there. Me, I'm not going to get upset about that because I have no control over it. I don't really care. The only thing that I'll point out is that you made a mistake. That's it. That's not being upset. But there's a lot of 49er fans that are like, I can't wait for Jimmy to be back because you're all going to be so mad. Don't you want them to win? Like there's so much of this, like, I need to be right. I need to dunk on people. I need people upset. That it's like you guys are losing sight of the fact that there are passionate fans who care about this team winning. And if you really did, you would know that the best thing to do after Jimmy Garoppolo said farewell in the whole thing, and John Lynch talked about moving him on March 3rd, and then Kyle Shanahan basically alludes to the fact that they've been trying to trade Jimmy like the entire time and move on with Trey. It's like you guys are rooting for chaos. I like chaos, but not in the face of the team winning. And it's just, we
got a bunch of jokers in this fan base,
Right, there you go.
Batman reference, right?
Yeah, there you go. Now we're rolling here, man. It's just agents of chaos, basically. So, yeah.
Absolutely. M9er says, I don't care if we have a losing season with Trey as long as he progresses, but I can't watch another season with Jimmy. I'm sorry, it's not good. I don't think anyone's going to argue this point. I think we know you need to rip the Band-Aid off, right?
Spitting. If the 49ers go 9-8, the 49ers go 9-8 and they miss the playoffs, but Trey Lance is electric and ascending, that's a successful season. Stop telling me that he needs to make the NFC Championship just because Jimmy did. One guy's in his 8th year. One guy's had played 2 games. Adjust your thought process.
Absolutely. Let's see. We got another one here. Oh, quickly. Justin says, Spider-Man.
Which Spider-Man?
Maybe overall. Because we said, I would agree with you. I'm going to go ahead and take Batman over Superman. Batman was my childhood superhero growing up. Still's my guy. Now, Spider-Man has made a strong push as of late. But what do you think? If you had to pick one.
Who would win in a race between the Flash and Batman, Brad?
Flash?
Batman.
Why is that?
Because you don't kill Batman. Batman could fight Thanos, and he would have never let him get that snap off. You know why? All he needs is a little bit of time, needs to dig up some money. He'll figure it out. He'll get it done. Give me the ingenuity of the rich guy.
I haven't watched Batman yet, so I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. But
give me the ingenuity. Give me the ingenuity of the rich guy who knows karate and is a loner. And
he's got a bat cave. He's got billions of dollars and resources.
He does this 24 hours a day, man. That man is Bruce Wayne for like an hour. He goes outside, then he goes right back to the cave and gets working. That man never sleeps, man. Give me the guy.
You don't got a teenager running around, going through puberty, trying to chase a girl.
Like Spider-Man's got to work. He's got to support his little food habit and everything, and he has to go to college and stuff. Batman's past that. Give me the rich guy who has all the time on his hand and who is ruthless. I'm going to take Batman, and Batman would definitely beat the Flash in a race. Don't ask me how. Here's how. I'm Batman. That's how.
Here's how. I'm Batman. Batman's my guy. He'll always be my guy. Now, my son, he's Spider-Man, and I respect it. He came up with the multiverse video, that movie. I mean, that movie was sick. I was extremely underrated that movie going into it, but I can see why a lot of people like Spider-Man. I'm personally Batman. Official BNA says the conundrum of waiting for another team to have an injury at quarterback so we can trade Jimmy is that he's the QB that might happen to, meaning Jimmy might be the one that gets hurt. Could you imagine Jimmy tearing his ACL first day of training camp, entire contract guaranteed for the entire year, and he's not going anywhere? Could you imagine? I don't know.
Well,
does he step on the field? Does he step on the for that reason alone? Does he actually step foot onto the field?
I'm just gonna dig in.
Do they need to rip up the contract for that to actually occur?
If you're Jimmy, why would you do that? I mean, think about what you're making right now. And think about how many people are saying that's too expensive. When really that's like mid-level tier for a starting. Oh, wow.
I like that
one.
Damn. If I find out Batman,
if I find out Batman is part of the 1% that's like cheating his taxes and like taking small business loans, I've got to adjust the rankings.
He's got some money laundering thing going on.
Oh, hell no.
How can he put all those equipment purchases and all that engineering on the books? That's being cooked.
Oh, hell no.
He's cooking the books, baby.
And then all Spider-Man's doing is getting his H&R Block taxes done, and he's getting back a band or 2 bands every January and balling out. No, but I mean, I don't know, man. I'm going to stick in and I'm going to dig in on the fact that I don't believe that happens in any way. Something is going to happen. I don't know what. I'm just going to be hopeful, optimistic.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't know, man. It's right now the 49ers are doing the best that they can, all that they can do. And this is not the plan. Also, I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is not the plan. This was not the plan. They were just when new information presents itself, you have to tweak things. And that's what the 49ers are doing. They're trying the best they can while also trying to put on the face to everybody like, yeah, we're good. We kind of figured this might happen, but we're all right. We're rolling with him. You can't say we're cutting this man as soon as he gets healthy so everybody knows they can just come get him. And if you're Jimmy, I would not restructure the contract. Why? You're never going to get $25 million on another team. No chance. No chance. I would never. Hey, Jimmy, restructure. No.
No, man.
No, man. I don't want to do that. Pay me my money. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we kind of agree. I think it would be kind of silly for 49ers to gamble and put him out on the field in training camp. So it just feels like a game of cat and mouse. Feels like they're just waiting for someone to call the bluff and call him up and say, you know what, we need a quarterback. He appears to be healthy. We'll take him on because Lord knows we don't want that situation to continue. So it's going to be interesting again to see how it continues to play out, but it will be something to monitor. I'm not going to lie. I love the comic book Spider-Man, Superman. We got people talking about Ant-Man in the chat. Iron Man was brought up. I love the superhero references. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure you enjoy them as well, Jason.
Hell yeah, that was a vibe, man. I thought we were just going to get in here and just yell about Jimmy Garoppolo and stuff, man. But like, I'm always down for some good superhero references, as you can see, guys. I actually just pre-ordered my Batman Funko Pop for the new movie for Pattinson, so.
You can't see it, but I have a massive Batman sign. You can't see it. It's right here. It's huge. But yes, big Bat fans around here.
Big.
Bat stands, maybe,
big
is what the correct word. But anything else that has been on your mind, Jason? Any points about this team that you just had to get off your chest? Or maybe we wrap it up and stop talking about Jimmy Garoppolo.
We'll wrap it up right after this. I've got a little rant to go on.
Ooh. Spicy Ponte?
The quote that bothered me the most, that is bothering me right now, and it has been sitting with me for 2 days. I didn't tweet about it because I would have said so many worse things that I'm about to say right now.
Hey, before Spicy Ponte goes on this epic rant, because you know it's going to be epic, go to his channel right here. like the video, come back to this channel, like the video, whichever one you're on, like both of them, because we got to get Spicy Aponte juiced up right now.
And
because we got to get him going.
All right. Let me crack my neck real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his name. Your owner said, well, Steve Young sat, and if that's the problem, I love that problem. Let me explain why that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say. Joe Montana's won Super Bowls. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't. Joe Montana's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Jimmy Garoppolo is not. Steve Young was not drafted at 3 and traded up 4. He was found on the scrap heap from Tampa Bay. Also, there's this little thing that wasn't around called the salary cap. Jed York, the absolute worst analogy in the history of analogies. I cannot believe that those words came out of his mouth and the media didn't point out any of those 3 obvious problems with what you said. How dare you? How dare you correlate this to that? Joe Montana, largely known as the GOAT. Jimmy Garoppolo, largely known as a handsome man. Steve Young, found off the scrap heap from Tampa Bay. Trey Lance, traded up for 3 first-round picks. Salary cap. Unbelievably dumb statement from your owner. Jed, you've done a great job by standing back and saying, hey, I let them handle all the football stuff. Stop talking. Stop saying that because it's incredibly stupid. Incredibly stupid. And I am so upset that the Bay Area media didn't say, well, wait a minute, Jed. That's not this. This ain't that. Please stop talking. Joe Montana, it would be a nice problem to have if that happened. It's nowhere near the same thing.
2 Hall of Famers making each other better every day.
We'd be lucky if one of these quarterbacks becomes a Hall of Famer. How dare you?
I think we know only one has a real shot at becoming a Hall of Famer, correct?
Yeah, Trey Lance, because we don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Unless barring unforeseen circumstances and maybe this shoulder surgery, it turns him into Henry Rowan-Gardner from Rookie of the Year and his arm just becomes a cannon. But to correlate what happened with Joe Montana and Steve Young to what's happening with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance is incredibly moronic. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen tweeted. I looked at it, I typed out something very angry and very mean, and I deleted it, and I put my phone down, and I walked out the room.
I'm very proud of you, by the way. I'm very proud of you.
I walked out of the room.
You've bottled it up, and you just let it rip. People are loving the spicy.
Dude, it's so bad that what I'm telling you is straight up obvious. Joe Montana and Jimmy Garoppolo are not even in the same zip code. What are we talking about, dude? It's so bad. So bad. And people were just like, see? He said that Steve Young said. Steve Young was found after he was cut from the Tampa Bay Bucks. And they didn't know what they had. And then you found out what you had. You traded up for Trey Lance. Nowhere near the same thing. And the 49ers had all of those great players during Eddie D's time because there was no salary cap. There is a salary cap. It's real. The 49ers have $1 million. What a terrible take from your owner. Terrible analogy. The worst. I hated it. It's disgusting. And I want to strike him from the record. There's your rant.
Please like these videos if you appreciated and loved the spicy Aponte rant. Drop a thumbs up in the chat too if you're vibing, because I was fire.
I'm just more upset. You know what? Yeah, I feel great actually. Now I'm gonna go to the liquor store right after this so I can chill. The thing is this: I'm more disappointed in the 49er fans that quote tweeted that, saying, "Well, that's a good way of looking at it." No, it's not. It's not a good way of looking at it. It's a stupid way of looking at it, and it's really dumb. And you should feel bad that you even were subscribing to that statement because it was so bad. I couldn't be Bay Area media. I promise you. I would have been like, "Wait a minute, Jed. What are you talking about? Joe Montana, the GOAT, Jimmy Garoppolo, handsome." That's it? Like, what are we doing here, dude? It's not even close.
If there was a Hall of Fame of handsomeness,
Jimmy's the first ballot Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Famer.
Maybe that was.
You know what? That's the only real thing that correlates between Joe Montana and Jimmy Garoppolo. Handsome quarterbacks. My mom, when I was a kid.
Cool under pressure, apparently.
Oh, yeah, sure. One has a whole nickname of it. The other, kind of just tap dances in the pocket and just like my mom when I was a kid used to always remark, "Oh my God, Joe Montana's so handsome, look at him." And yeah, he was. Maybe we don't feel the same way about Joe now because of some of the comments that he's made, and I think the 2019 Super Bowl and the way that he was like, my team's gonna win, and he didn't say, "Yo, I want the Niners to win," kind of rubbed people the wrong way. And then when you add in what he said about Trey Lance, because I think that he's a little triggered by seeing the whole thing, right? So even Joe Montana's got the dumb take in his head of like, "Well, they're doing what he did to me." No. You, Joe Montana, you catching strays here too now. No. That's not this.
Joe Montana catching strays.
That's not this. Wow. This ain't that. Please, I want that Jed York quote stricken from the record. Find it, report the tweet, and send it away because I never want to see it again, man. My God, it was so bad.
Swan Song says, "So bad that Jimmy Stans wouldn't even dare make that comp." It's quite the comparison to take two Hall of Fame quarterbacks that had extremely different paths to the roster and comparing them to Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. So I 100% hear where you're coming from. Justin E says the Morbius movie looks great, right, Jason?
Looks like dog shit. And I said that's why Sony would have to come to me and say, "We'll pay you to watch it." I wouldn't even watch it for free. I watched Venom for free. I bootlegged it when it first came out, and I sent the letter to Sony. I want my money back. I want my money back. I want my money back. I want my time back. Sony cannot be trusted. The only reason that Spider-Man is balling right now is because Sony gave the rights to Marvel. And Marvel has him in good hands. But Venom, Morbius, keep him far away from that crap, please. God help us all.
Dude, I freaking love it. I love whenever we can get a freaking spicy Aponte rant. It is one of the best things amongst not only 49ers content, all content in existence. So I'm glad you guys were here to experience
I'm sorry for yelling, guys.
That because it was so good. I'm
sorry for yelling, guys. I've had that on my heart for a few days. You know what's funny? It's funny because Grant calls me right before we do the show, and he's like, "Bro, what do you want to talk about?" And he laid out what he has, and then I said, "Hey, I think we need to talk about Bobby Wagner. We need to talk about I gave him another one about damn it, Wagner and something else. What the first two topics were mine, where I came up with that, and then I mentioned this one to him, and I was like, "Dude, give me a few minutes so I can rip Jed apart." And obviously, time constraints, it didn't happen. But I'm glad I was able to share it with you guys because I totally was going to say all of this on Grant's show. And it would probably, Jed York is the Sony of owners. Yes. Here we go. Here's the correlation. Ready? Dean's right. This is it. Sony gave Spider-Man to Marvel and said, "We're going to step back. I don't want anything to do with this. Make Spider-Man
They cut Spider-Man.
Dope. Right. And make Spider-Man dope. And just give me my money." Jed York said, "I'm done hiring guys and all this stuff, and I'm not getting in. I'm going to step back and get my money, make me some money." That is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful analogy.
Oh, my goodness. That was fantastic. This was an amazing live, Jason.
Yeah.
We got comic book references. We're getting everything wrapped into it. I got to talk about Brian Burns for a little bit. So it's all is good in the world, but we're going to continue to try to manifest something in regards to the quarterback situation. Hopefully something happens sometime soon. Did you have any follow-up points to the fire you just spit out of your mouth?
No. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like this video on both our channels, subscribe on both of our channels. Make sure you join that Spicy Squad too, man. The call-in show was lit, man. We had someone call in from Norway. It was 3 a.m. where he was at, and he called in. Shout out to Giannis, I believe his name is. Shout out to him for joining the Spicy Squad. The call-in show was lit. We talk about anything that you guys want. You want to talk about comic books, you want to talk about the 49ers, whatever it is. So make sure that you guys are doing that, and appreciate everybody here, man. And just let's bully Brad into getting Brian Burns manifested, and also getting him.
I'm not stopping,
but get him to manifest Zoe Kravitz opening up her DM.
We'll see if we can fit it in. Right now, my energy is focused on Brian Burns, Jimmy Garoppolo, and I agree with Swan Song. If the furthest chance actually becomes a reality, the 49ers somehow trade Jimmy G, get him off the books, add Brian Burns, we got to donate to charity. We got to do something. We just got to take that energy that was manifested and put it back to good use. I like that plan. We'll see what happens. But again, it will be quite the ride if that does actually occur. We even got Coach saying, I'll match you 500. So we already got 1,000 in the books. Let's go. Hey, I'll do something too. I'll throw 500 on it too. If the freaking 49ers somehow get Brian Burns onto this roster and get Jimmy G off, I'm throwing bands, baby. Like I'm hyped. So 500, let's do it.
Hey, loan me $5, man, because I'm trying to pay for this. I'm trying to pay for this.
$5 though.
Let me hold $5 so I can try to book this Vegas trip, man. We're gonna be in Vegas in 4 weeks, bro.
Dude, it's gonna be here so fast.
Yeah.
We got John Deese.
That was my boy, man.
Effing loved it. Spicy Aponte. Fire, everyone. Again, it's fire content. Make sure you subscribe. It's super subscriber, or is it like a join?
It's just so you would have to actually be, I believe, on the desktop, or I don't think you can do it on mobile. So if you watch on desktop, it'll say subscribe, which you already are, and then there'll be a join button right there. That's where you click it to join the Spicy Squad. And you'll be the call-in shows are for the Spicy Squad only. If you guys want to pull up and you guys want to talk, and we can talk about anything that you want, it's usually late at night, so it's a little bit more loose and things like that. You want to talk 49ers, cool. You want to talk comic books, cool. You want to say, Jason, you're an idiot, cool. Whatever you want to say, whatever it is, if you guys join, I'm willing to listen, and we can vibe it out.
Absolutely. So make sure you tap in with Jason. Make sure you're subscribing to his channel if you're not already. Like both of these videos. And if Brian Burns gets traded to the 49ers, we are throwing bread, because we are the bread gang. So we're going to make it rain, and we're going to be extremely happy that the move was made, and we will do something legit. We'll turn it into something cool, and we'll make it a movement. We'll do something about it if it happens. But in the meantime, I will continue to manifest. The coach, he says, bro, Brad won't even get the call-in show popping. I spread bread just to put him on blast.
Coach, I ain't gonna lie, you getting cooked.
I'm getting cooked, but he doesn't know that secretly behind the scenes I got some things cooking. So, coach, just be patient, my boy, and you still are number one on the call-in list. I promise you. Just be patient, because hey, stick around the channel. I might have some announcements coming soon, but we'll see what happens in that regard. You keep calling me out, coach. It's all good. You're still my guy. You're still the coach. We appreciate
Coach be calling everybody out. He'd be like, yo,
does,
Jason tripping. He'd be like, Jason tripping, man. Fuck all that.
You don't care.
That's cool. I like it. Keep us in check.
That's why I love him. So, again, we'll be back next week for another State of the Franchise episode. Today was fun, man. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. We got Spicy Aponte. Anytime we get Spicy Aponte, it's a good time. So, any last words, Jason, before we get out of here? I know you want you want Zoe, but I got to put that energy into Jimmy right now. I got to get BB on this roster.
Hey, look, let's look priorities. Okay, so like in whatever let's just say there's like a manifesting percentage, right, and 100% of it, right? Like, okay, so let's just say we'll do 90% Brian Burns, or maybe 85% Brian Burns, 10% Jimmy Garoppolo, and then just throw a little 5% over there as always. See what happens, man.
Okay. I'll work it in. My plan is
we need those things to happen first.
100%. But we can work it in. We can budget it out. We can spread the energy around. It's okay.
For sure.
We can figure it out. Absolutely. Sure. So shout out to everyone who hopped into the chat again. You can follow both of us on both of our channels. Jason is pretty much all across all his platforms, right? With this same with mine, the SF Niners. You know where to find us. Smash the likes on both. Hit the subs if you haven't. Join the Spicy Squad. If you haven't, you're for sure missing out. And stay tuned because I'll have some news coming up, maybe this week, maybe next week. But pay close attention because we'll be dropping some fire too. Jason, I appreciate you, man. Till next week, we'll do it again.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Have a good one.